So I got to talk to my nephews today, which was great. We started talking about cars, and one of my nephews is interested in maybe buying an older car for his first car. And it got me to think, I mean, he likes Chevelles, and I'm thinking, if I'd be his age and I'd be looking into cars, what would I buy? Because to get my Chevelle, which is nothing, by any means, this is not a pristine car. It's never been. I bought it when I was 14 years old, and I paid $600 for it. I had to put brake hoses on it for inspection and exhaust. And all I did was put headers on it right away so I could save money and put the exhaust pipes out the side. I got used mufflers off of a buddy of mine that he didn't want anymore. They were cherry bombs that were header mufflers, bolt direct to the header collector. I put those on just out of necessity. The exhaust pipes sent out the side cost me $35 at a local garage to get those bent up. It was dirt cheap. So for really it ended up being 600 and I think it was 660 bucks. I had a drivable car that I could have fun with. Motor mounts. I had to put motor mounts on it. They were 20 bucks in the local auto parts store. So that was dirt cheap, which is hard to find anything nowadays. A couple of years ago, I bought a Fairmont, which I sold. That Fairmont was a pristine car, a two-door post. I gave $500 for it. It was a manual transmission on the floor, flawless interior. The paint was nearly flawless too. And I mean, that would be a good car to start with also. But to get back on the subject here, I think I'd be looking for either a G-body, but not a Malibu, because Malibu G-bodies, the 79 body style, they're pretty darn expensive. I think I'd be looking into Buicks, Grand Prix, that type of G-body, or possibly the Novas from those years, or Venturas. Some of those, I call them off-brands, but the like Oldsmobile, the Buick, and the Pontiac, they're a lot cheaper. And the other thing you can still find relatively inexpensive would be Camaros and Firebirds from the 70s. And I always lean towards pre-75 because I'm not sure how it is in other states, but a lot of states, including the one I live in, pre-75 you're emission exempt. So it doesn't matter what kind of engine you build, and you can build a heck of a quick engine that isn't compliant to emissions, that you can have a blast with on a dime. So I think that's the route I'd probably go. I'd go for those oddball cars and try to find something that's solid, but possibly a roller, or find one that the engine doesn't run. Maybe the guy claims it knocks, and it could be something as simple as a lifter tap. You could do a lifter swap, cam swap, and you'd be well on your way. That's the type of stuff I'd look for. And this gives me a good idea. I think here in the future, I'm going to, on my YouTube channel, do a build from a Craigslist buy all the way up to getting the thing down the drag strip into a cruise night. Just to show you my approach and how inexpensively you can get into the hobby. For this car, it was inexpensive when I showed the build of getting this back on the road, but I already had the car. So I would like to just show how you can approach it. You can get a pretty cool car, or a car that you think may not be cool. You can make it cool. You can make it a car that you can take to cruise nights and get, a lot of attention if that's what you're after, or you can build a sleeper. I know a lot of the younger guys nowadays, they want to have it where they go to the cruise night. People really like the car that they have. That's a big thing with the import crowd, which I have nothing against the import crowd. I think it's cool. Anybody who's into the car hobby these days, thumbs up to them. But you can do it with an older car. So I think I will do that in the future. I'll go on to Craigslist, find a car that's cheap, affordable, and go from there. When I say cheap and affordable, even for me, you know, you have a family, you have a house, you have other priorities. $1,000 to $1,500 car that's going to be a project car would be my limit. But I think I'll do that. So just wanted to let everybody know that, hey, keep your eye open for those oddball cars. Look on Craigslist. I don't look on eBay very often. Just don't really have success with eBay, but Craigslist I've had a lot of success with. The other thing, your local penny pincher is a good one. About a year ago, there was a 74 Camaro for sale in the local penny pincher that I called about. And it was pretty cool. It was a one owner, and an elderly man owned it. He bought it brand new. It was an inline six with a manual transmission on the floor. Garage kept. I called about it, and he apologized and said that the car sold approximately a week before that ad was published. Guess how much he sold it for? $850. That is insane. The deals are still out there. It's just you have to buy them from the people that aren't at home on their couch watching Meekum, watching Barrett Jackson, watching Auction America. Because those are the people that get it in their head that the car that they have is some crazy gem. And hey, in some cases it might be. But a lot of times what it's doing is, you know, it isn't beneficial for the guys that want to get into the cars cheap for the hobby. It's good for the guys that want to have a business and selling cars. And hey, that's wonderful. I mean, it is promoting the hobby. But for that, you know, 16-year-old, 17 or 18-year-old guy that just wants to get into an older car to have fun, that's where I feel bad. Sometimes these auctions can really, you know, hurt what those guys are capable of coming up with as far as funds. So yeah, look in the local paper, penny pincher, Craigslist, and look for oddball cars. Also, the one reason I do like some of the cars from the mid-70s that GM built, they come with the 8.5-inch corporate rear. In the long run, that is a lot cheaper way to go. You have a very strong differential in there compared to the 7 and 5/8, which came in the later G-bodies. Because you're good, but once you start getting into that 13-second range or 12-second range with your ride, you'll start in breaking parts. That'll be the weak link. So 8.5-inch corporate rear cars, that would be your Novas from the mid-70s into the early 80s. You have your Firebirds, your Camaros. They were the 8.5-inch corporate rear. So in the long run, that'll save you some cash. They also have turbo 350 hydromatic transmissions, which my Chevelle has. And I'm very happy to say I have got like close to, it's approaching 200,000 miles on this thing since the rebuild. Now it has additional clutches in it and steels and a Fairbanks shift kit, but man, I beat the crap out of it. And just now, I mean, I get a little bit of a slip sometimes going up into third gear, which would be drive, when I'm at wide open throttle. But hey, it owes me nothing, and I will rebuild this one likely and put it back in the car. But that's the stuff you want to look for. You want to look for cars that have a good, solid foundation, because that'll save you money in the long run. Same with Mopars. You can get some really cool Mopars in that year range as well. And Fords are out there too. Fox bodies, man, that's still a very good buy to get into. That's an excellent platform with an 8.8 differential. I mean, you have an awesome setup there already. So the only problem is when you get into the 80s, unless you're putting a collectible plate on the car, an antique plate, something like that, you're dealing with your emissions. And you can still, don't get me wrong, you can still get a very quick car, emissions controlled. It's just sometimes the emission equipment is bad and it's added cost, or people removed it and then with a visual inspection you have to reinstall it. So I'm talking about that kid that wants to get a car cheap. That's just a few ideas. So I'll try to do this occasionally, give you some input on what I'd look for different cars, and if I come across a project, hey, I'll show you what I do to purchase it, and I won't hide any of the costs. I'll put it out there and tell you exactly what I paid for it and how much it would cost for the build. I think it's important for the younger guys out there to see that stuff. Thanks very much. Thank you for watching, and keep the shiny side up, folks, and enjoy those old cars.